We should be very observant while we are rebuilding ourselves. And we should ask those questions. Why are you so obsessed with betrayal? And maybe not from that standpoint. Maybe you have to be a little bit more tactful and sensitive with yourself. But like, where does this come from? And then you get down to the real root of it, the real deep root, and you look at it with no judgment, and you say lovingly, I totally get that. I totally get why you would think that. But that's not true. That's not true anymore. That was never really for you. We can stop creating that experience. This is what you deserve. And we're going to choose a new story. We're going to make a new story. It's the original story, actually. And it is the story that you deserve every good thing. Welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Manè, and I wanted to talk about some things, some experiences that can happen in life, which we know. We can be ignored, we can be rejected, abandoned, betrayed, right? These experiences, if we look back on our past, if we think about it, these experiences of being betrayed or abandoned, denied or rejected, those are all interpretations. Those are all assumptions or how we perceive a situation. To be able to see it like this does take some muscle building, some practice. It does require some skill development, especially, how most of us, I'm sure, we have been brought up to see certain things very clearly from, a negative perspective. But I was asking myself this question. Why do I believe that I can be abandoned? Why do I believe that that can happen for me to the point where if a thought crosses my mind, I don't question it. I just go with it. I spiral with the story. What part of me identifies with that story of being abandoned? Not, we can, and in a lot of situations, it is beneficial to, source it, go back in time, and figure out where it all started. But now is the only time. Now is the only time. That's where all the power resides. And so, while I do love to do a deep dive, I was asking myself this question because the thought had crossed my mind, and I felt myself just go with it, almost to the point of action. I have been doing this for a while, so I knew that, it doesn't feel good. So it is a signal, it's a sign that it's letting me know that I'm feeling something about this that's not resonating with who I've chosen that I'm going to be. So I asked myself the question again, why do I believe that that's a that's for me? Why am I claiming that emotionally? Why am I building the story up in my mind and letting my imagination carry it and turn it into this scene, this film that I don't want any parts of? And I remember a time where I would act as if that was my intuition, letting me know something was up. Um, I would act on it. I would assume that the idea came to my mind because there was a greater power that was looking out for my well being. But in reality, in those situations, I can say from my experience that it would take a lot of those moments, a lot of spiraling with negative stories, making um, assumptions against myself before I finally got the aha, I knew it. The I knew it wasn't instant. The I knew it came after thinking that something was wrong, thinking and feeling like something was something, what did they call it? Foul play was at work. So I asked myself this question. And when I ask myself, I really do listen because I know that I'm at this point for me, I know that the answers do come up. And what I got was that I don't fully love myself. As cliche as worthiness and the trendy I am worthy, as cliche as it may seem, when you really get to asking yourself these questions, you can really hear it. If I, so for example, if I were 100% whole and complete, totally confident and secure in myself, then when the thought came, well, if the thought came, I wouldn't attach to it. I would have no attachment to it. So it lets me know that I believe that something like that can happen to me. I believe I can be betrayed. I believe that I can be hurt. I believe that I can be fired or rejected or, confronted. I wanted to share this because there's something very beautiful and empowering about being that honest with yourself. Because, well, what comes next if you don't live in that, because I know that that's not how I really feel, but I am acting and living from this state of mind where I don't like that, but I accept that. And so when you're healing and you're growing and you want to change and you want things to be different and you want to have more harmonious relationships with others, the only thing you truly can change is yourself, your state of mind. So what I did with this was I saw it, I offered myself grace for the past, I forgave myself for ever thinking that, I gave myself reasons for why that wasn't the case, why that is no longer for me. And then I realized, because what happened next was my nervous system didn't like that. Well, it got super tight and tense. Rightfully so. It's been practicing something different for years, right? And it wants to feel safe. I may not be able to guarantee that I'll never have someone betray me, but I can guarantee myself that I'll be able to handle it. I can guarantee myself that it won't hurt me. I can look at it, I can gain a new perspective. I can choose to see this as, well, because everything always works out for me, and because um, every adverse situation is for my good and is meant to build me, meant to grow me, then there is no such thing as loss. Then loss is made up. So if someone or an opportunity or a thing were to leave my life, interpreting that as loss, that's the thing I can change. I can choose to love myself fully, believe that good is for me. Yeah. And so to my nervous system, I say, no, maybe I don't know that that person, you know, I don't know if that person will always have my best interests at heart. But I know I'll have my best interests at heart. And if they are removed from my life, then I love them. Then it's everything is all good. I love me. Everything is all good. So when we take things personal or we respond, our responses we do have control over. It takes some practice. Well, it takes a right retraining, reprogramming of your mind, because you know, we've seen in so many different spaces, social media, movie, TV, in personal lives, and in our personal lives and other stories, that, oh, we're supposed to respond this way when this happens. And the two responses that are acceptable are devastated or furious. And there's just so many. And I can recall hearing, a handful of people who would be in these situations where they were like, working at a place for years, and giving everything, all that they have, and investing themselves fully into it, and then they were dismissed from the role, or they didn't get the promotion, and I would be just astonished at them for not being, you know, at least disappointed. There's one person I'm thinking in particular, and she was just like, no, there is no reason for me to feel disappointed, because, and I won't forget, just the confidence of, it wasn't meant for me. I'm meant for something else, is meant for me. I lose nothing. And I think that is what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to remind you and myself, because this is for me too, that we have to ask the right questions, right? Before we don't have, we don't have to believe everything we think. And we should listen to our bodies, our sensations, our responses. We should be very observant while we are rebuilding ourselves. And we should ask those questions. Why are you so obsessed with betrayal? You know, and maybe not from that standpoint. Maybe you have to be a little bit more tactful and sensitive with yourself. But like, where does this come from? And then you get down to the real root of it, the real deep root, and you look at it with no judgment, and you say lovingly, "I totally get that. I totally get why you would think that, but that's not true. That's not true anymore. That was never really for you. We can stop creating that experience. This is what you deserve. And we're going to choose a new story. We're going to make a new story." It's the original story, actually. And it is the story that you deserve every good thing, and all the things that happen are for your good and make a way for new things, the things that you've been asking for. You can't lose anything. You can only gain. You have a lot to gain. And sometimes things are taken away, opportunities, so that you can get what you're actually looking for. And that to me has helped me tremendously in reprogramming that part of my mind that is used to taking what other people say or do personally. I listen to myself. If you listen, more than likely what you'll hear is you're building stories in your mind against yourself. And the good news is if you're doing that, we can build better stories. We can have different narratives. And I think that that's where our magic, our power is coming from, is in this ability to choose. You know, just I don't want to be upset. I don't want to feel I don't want to feel like I can be hurt. I don't want to try to control people, try to know everything. It's a lot more relaxing. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. Let me know how this message resonated with you. Share your thoughts in the comments, and I hope to see you back soon.